So this video is actually based on a Reddit post that I posted like 3 years ago at this point. A lot of the fundamentals in there are still pretty solid, even though the game has changed a lot. But I did want to release an updated version in video form just so it's more accessible, rather than like a wall of text for people to read. So let's dive into the principles of D.E.E.Z nuts and how they can help you in Apex. So the first principle, D, is for deciding who to engage. And really that comes down to a couple different things. So you need to consider on an individual level, who can you put the most damage into while exposing yourself to the least amount of danger. And also, targeting people that you're actually likely to knock or be able to kill. If there's someone on a roof 80 meters away with a sentinel and you have R99 PK, there's not really much you can do about that guy. So just don't give him LOS, and he will be less effective throughout the fight. Now, if you have R99 PK and someone is 15 meters to your left shooting your teammate with a 301, you should be full sending it up their asshole and lighting them on fire, right? So maximize your impact as an individual, engage specifically at the appropriate range for your weapons, right? Like, don't pull out an SMG for a guy on a head glitch 50 meters away. That's what your G7 or your Sentinel's for. Don't pull out a PK when the guy is 40 meters off running away and you need the last shot. Just reload your 301 and kill him. At the same time, if you have PK in your back pocket, don't pull out the 30-30 when you have, a stemmed up octane bouncing around your head. You're going to have a bad time. So weapons are built to operate at different ranges, and you want to maximize the ranges that they are designed for. So shotguns, that's going to be anywhere from point blank range up to maybe 10 to 15 meters. And then you want to move into SMG territory from the 5 to 20 meter range, maybe 30. And then, scale that up. So then you have ARs, then you have your marksmans, then you have your snipers. So play accordingly to what's in your actual arsenal at the moment. And don't put yourself in a lot of danger just to do a little bit of extra damage. If someone's sending it on you, don't tunnel vision on one target. Juggle that aggro appropriately, switch to the correct weapon, and engage the new target. I promise if you do this, sticking to cover and playing your weapons for their effective ranges, you're going to do so much better than people standing in the open doing, 11 damage per PK shot as their target runs away. And a lot of that probably sounds pretty obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people are like, just one more shot with, insert incorrect weapon here. And they're just leaving so much damage on the table and putting themselves at so much more risk to do so. You even see this in Masters players, Pred players, not so much at the pro level. They've kind of ironed it out there, but this is going to be a tip that is going to carry you way further and should always be front of mind. What weapons do I have and where and when should I be using them? So the second principle, E, stands for engage intelligently, and it really piggybacks off the first one. So you're deciding who to engage, and you're doing it with the proper weapon at the proper range, right? But you also want to be thinking forward. What do your next 30 or 60 seconds look like? Are you between two fights right now? Should you be third partying this if the zone is going to force you out when you're all at, half HP and running alongside other squads with the pressure of the zone? Is it really worth an extra kill or two, or should we be positioning ourselves for the next fight that's going to erupt where we can really punish the people that stayed out too long? So what I'm getting at is check your macro positioning, check your micro positioning, and just, make sure you're commanding power positions that are going to keep your team safe and put you in a place where you can punish the mistakes of others. When are they going to be crossing the open? When are they going to be getting too greedy in a fight and staying too long? And how can you position yourself to capitalize on that? Our second E, so our third principle, is going to be eroding their resources. So even though Apex has sped up a lot in terms of the flow of the game and the time to kill being reduced, this is still a really critical principle. So the resources that your opponents have are going to include things like their positioning, their cooldowns, their weapons, whether or not they're reloaded or not, how many people are up versus how many are knocked. And the more resources that you can erode from their team, the more you can kind of dismantle them piece by piece, the better time you're going to have in a fight. You know, if 2 people are knocked and the last guy has 20 health, you're probably not going to lose that fight. If you do, maybe it's time to go play Tetris instead. But if you can whittle them down and slowly apply that pressure to them, you're going to create micro advantages that are just going to increase the odds of you winning that fight. So what I mean is finding picks and, getting a couple shield breaks before you push, or, making them waste a critical ultimate, like a Horizon ultimate or a Gibby ultimate, things that can turn the fight. If you can feint and get them to waste those, precious abilities, you can create opportunities for yourself rather than relying on punishing mistakes. This is kind of how you create an opening that you can then, seize that opportunity and create a big impact in the fight. The 4th principle, Z, is going to be zero hesitation when you have the advantage. And this one's pretty straightforward. Apex is a fast-paced game, especially these days. And so when you create a window of opportunity where you have a clear advantage over an opponent, you need to capitalize on that, period, if you have the means to do so. So if you have a gap closer, if you find a knock, you need to be holding that W key, get in there and rip them apart before other bad things happen to you. So if that window disappears and your timing is off, well, now you're either going to get third-partied or you're going to get punished because you gave them too long to reset. So, find your picks, find your advantages, create those micro opportunities, and then capitalize on them as quickly as you can. And, that lack of hesitation and that consistency in following up on opportunities is what separates great players from mediocre players. Our 5th principle is N, which is never lose your advantage. So in our previous principle, Z, zero hesitation and following up on like an opportunity, I don't mean to do that foolishly. Just because you get a shield break or two, don't just sprint out in the open with your gun out at half speed and just think that the fight is already won. There are a ton of ways for people to reset. There are a ton of ways for people to bait you or force you into a bad situation because you overcommit. So think of it more as a surgical approach to removing advantages and tightening the pressure, removing advantages and tightening the pressure. And this might be happening on a second-by-second basis. It's still quick because that's just, what Apex is. But don't give up larger advantages just because you created a couple micro advantages for yourself. Choke the life out of them and do not give them a chance to come back. Our next principle is U, which is use everything at your disposal. So there is something to be said about saving, abilities like ultimates and stuff like that. But your tacticals, your ordnance, you can create a lot of opportunities with something like an arc star and a thermite. And a lot of people forget to capitalize on this, really. Like, you'd be amazed how much pressure you can put on a team. And how often people just choose not to. I see so many people, especially in like gold and plat, where they're pushing in on a squad and they have a frag and 2 arcs in their inventory and they just don't use it. They're like, oh, we got the shield break, we're pushing in, la la la. But like, the enemy team has enough time to reset because there's not that constant threat, that constant pressure. Yet if you fight against a master or pred squad, they're going to vert nade you. They're going to cut off your exits with their abilities. They are going to just, cut off every opportunity that you have to reset, and they're going to abuse everything that they have to create an advantage. So definitely do that. Do not leave anything off the table. Our second to last principle is going to be T, which is to trade intelligently. And what I mean by this is everything in Apex is a resource. So your weapons, your abilities, your ordnance, your positioning, all of those things can be traded at various moments. So if you peek somebody and you deal 80 damage and you only take 20, that was a trade that worked out in your favor. If you throw a Gibby ultimate on a team that is huddled up in a building, that is a trade that did not work out in your favor. And so the value of different things is going to shift at different moments in the fight. And you need to be able to capitalize on what's most important at that time. And so sometimes things can have unexpected value or be less valuable than you would assume. So most people assume that health is your most valuable resource. Well, health is only valuable if people are looking at you and actively shooting at you. As long as you have 1 HP, you're not dead yet. So don't take anything for granted. Like, if my shield gets broken, I have to heal. Well, not necessarily, because if your shield gets broken, maybe the enemy's going to overcommit, but maybe you're in a great position to beam them from the side if you cancel your heal, and you can take a lot of pressure off your teammates and swing that fight, punish that overcommitment by the enemy. So don't make assumptions about the value. Look at what really wins the fight and loses the fight and how that shifts moment to moment. And the more you pay attention to this, the better your game sense is going to be, and the more you're going to be able to, again, create opportunities for yourself and your team. Our final principle, S, is going to be see the results and analyze their cause. So basically remove emotion, remove ego from, any death or even successes. Don't say like, we won that fight, we played it perfectly. Like, go back, look at your losses, look at your victories, and I guarantee there will be fat that you can trim out of your gameplay. There will be new opportunities to create advantages or things that you could have done better, whether it's, holding a better position or not overcommitting or not having tunnel vision or using the wrong weapon or ability at the wrong time. From beginners all the way up to pro players, everybody is constantly making mistakes in this game, and it's what you do with those mistakes and how you analyze your gameplay that ultimately determines how much you'll improve. Even the top streamers, they might be screaming for a second about how they died, but they usually dive into some sort of analysis that says like, yeah, okay, I could have, healed before I got you up, or I could have used my ability here, or, oh, damn it, there was a shield swap I could have used. Whatever the thing is, remove the emotion, remove the ego from the equation, and look at, objectively, what did you do that wasn't efficient enough, or what did you do that, caused the situation to play out in the way that it did. And I promise if you consistently do this and apply these principles and keep them top of mind, you're going to have a much better time in your gameplay. So I can't wait to see people hitting Diamond, maybe Masters for the first time with some of this advice. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if there's any other guides you'd like to see. Have a good one.